Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for being here, obviously. My name is Brian Kelly, and I am your new head football coach. Look, it's day one. It's the first time you've met me, so I'm not here to win the press conference, okay? That's going to take time. You know, we're going to develop a relationship. It'll take time. It's built on trust. It's built on how we go to work every day. It's built on the things that we set as a standard within this program. Look, let me tell you why I'm here. I'm here because I wanted to coach the very best players in the country that are afforded the best resources in the country and play in the best conference in the country. That's an incredible challenge to a football coach. And I get that here, and I get a chance to work with the best athletic director, president, all in alignment to get to the end of winning a national championship. That's why we're here. That's why I took this job. I want to coach you. I want to develop you because my why, the reason why I do this, it's not to win games. That's going to be a byproduct of what we do. My why is I love developing football players, student athletes, you guys. And when I talk about developing you, I mean physically, technically, tactically, mentally. In all facets, that player development is what drives me. So that's why I'm here. I get a chance to coach LSU football players, the best in the country, that have the best resources, that have an administration that is aligned to that end. Why wouldn't I be here?
Hello and welcome into Tigers Roar. I am Jonathan Poche, joined as always by the Budman, Buddy Songy. Good to see you, Budman. Hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving break. Certainly appreciate you being here with us on Tigers Roar as we tape here on Wednesday, December 1st from Old School Barbecue, 10655 Coursey Boulevard. A great place to get something to eat. Come check out the shows. Once again, Old School Barbecue. The food speaks for itself, Budman. Won't go into it. This is a jam-packed show. Want to bring you in. LSU now finishes the season 6-6 after defeating the Texas A&M Aggies in a high dramatic fashion. Max Johnson, great throw at the end. We'll get into all that. But the big story right now on Tigers Roar, LSU Scott Woodward has gotten their man. Coach Brian Kelly, the winningest active coach in college football, comes to Baton Rouge. His introductory press conference was today. We'll let you guys hear from that in a little bit on Tigers Roar. But Budman, want to start us off. Brian Kelly, your immediate reactions, your immediate feels. Did Scott Woodward hit a home run? How do you feel about the hire?
Well, we hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving holiday. And, of course, as is the norm in South Louisiana, our jackets are a little tighter today. Feeling good about this hire for a couple things. First of all, thank God it is over.
Exactly.
You know, I say spicy all the time, but I was getting crusty around the edges, waking up every morning to 10, 15, 20 messages, calls, the whole 9 yards. And I'm not even on Twitter, so I can imagine how bad it's been. But it was an interesting scenario. We were all in. We thought Lincoln Riley was going to be the guy. Everybody thought that was going to fall into play. And lo and behold, that didn't work out. And once Scott Woodward and President Tate and everybody with LSU found out that that was not the case, then they locked in on Brian Kelly. They had talked to him earlier. Of course, this is a pretty special contract, 10 years, $95 million. But I don't know if you saw some of those incentives. He's going to easily make another $1.5 million a year.
Right.
But I really think that he reminds me a lot of ways with Nick Saban. Now, Nick Saban came over here 21 years ago and drew a line in the sand.
Yep.
And there's always going to be some transition. There's going to be some attrition. There's going to be some struggle to doing it his way. But I think in light of what's been going on, it gives them a chance to once again establish dominance at the line of scrimmage, toughness, accountability, and act in the right way.
Yep.
And as we know, when you talk about the winningest college active coach, but he had been in the SEC.
Right.
And he still has to name a couple of coordinators. And he's got to do a good job of developing a quarterback, as we know how important that is when you're trying to win big games against. Look at the juggernaut that this guy had the onions to say, you know what? Yeah. Lincoln Riley is over getting the red carpet treatment.
Yep.
And he got 2 national sponsors when he left Oklahoma to go to USC. Shorman, because he's soft,
right,
and Victoria's Secret,
right,
because that's kind of where he's going to be shopping out there, Hollywood. Now, Lincoln Riley was scared to compete at this level.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly embraced that. JP, when you talk about the coaches in the SEC West and how good that league is, he's embraced the challenge. It's going to be a tough couple of weeks. We'll get into all the things that he's got to do, but I think right now most people are excited about the potential of Brian Kelly and what he can do at LSU.
That's right. A lot of folks are excited, looking forward. I mean, you mentioned Lincoln Riley, and he's going to USC. I think that threw a lot of people through an emotional roller coaster because I think everybody had their faith in Scott Woodward, and when he came out, in October and said this is going to be the best timing for us to move forward and get our coach in place, and LSU finishes the season at Texas A&M, then everybody changes their focus to Bedlam and Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, and then Lincoln Riley in the post-game press conference said, I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU. Everybody was kind of giving that Saban comparison, whereas, he said I wasn't going to be the next coach at Alabama when he was with Miami, but of course you know how that turned out. So you go through that roller coaster, and then the next day you find out Lincoln's going to USC, and wow, he did not want any smoke with the SEC, Budman. And really, I can't not blame the guy. Okay, you go to the West Coast. You're the king of the beach. Okay, you're getting paid a ton of money. They backed up the truck to your front door. They offered your family 24-hour access to the private jet, and you have this huge, beautiful home in Los Angeles. They're going to buy your homes in Norman. Plus, you don't have to play the SEC.
Exactly.
I mean, a clear path to the postseason, just like you had at Oklahoma, maybe easier than he had at Oklahoma. And if you bring Southern Cal back to the promised land, you are going to be the king of California for a long time.
And I was making jokes about the Shorman and the Victoria's Secret, but he is a Hollywood guy.
Yep.
When Dave Aranda kicked the field goal, look, we wanted Lincoln Riley because he brings an exciting offense, and we talked about it. 2019 set a game plan and a situation where people, oh man, I love this offense, scoring 48 points a game and passing for 400 a game. But Brian Kelly is an old school type of coach. I just had my better half tell me, well, he kind of looks mean. I had Scarborough call him vanilla, no-nonsense guy, and it is going to be interesting to see. This is a guy that just put up the L for the first time. He said he just found out what that means. Right. But he's going to learn how to eat gumbo. He's going to learn how to spell go. But this is not going to be easy. And with the early signing date 2 weeks from today, he even said it. He wishes there were 26 and 28 hours in a day because he won't be hitting the pillow tonight until about 3 o'clock in the morning. All the things he's got to do. Got to get coordinators in here that he can win with. Got to solidify this recruiting class. And then, of course, moving forward, got to figure out who's coming in on his staff and what to do with the guys here. A lot of work. But I think everybody should give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's just see how this thing plays out. But I think on paper right now, did he win the press conference where everybody's fired up and wants to go pick up a truck or a car outside? No. But I think he set the ideal standards of how he's going to change the culture, and it's going to be accountability.
Right. Self-discipline is the word that Coach Brian Kelly used in his press conference. We have a whole lot more here on Tigers Roar. Of course, we'll talk about rivalry weekend, past weekend, crazy weekend in college football. We'll talk some college football playoff polls and where they sit today. And don't forget, LSU basketball is also undefeated. We'll talk a little bit about them later on in this program. Of course, we'll have another segment with Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com. A whole lot coming up on Tigers Roar. You don't want to miss it. This is Tigers Roar.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology, which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
At the Team Automotive Group, we make it easy for you to buy here or sell here. Buy here and save on hundreds of certified and pre-owned vehicles. Or sell here while your vehicle is worth more than it ever has been, and we'll pay you top value. Buy here or sell here at the Team Automotive Group.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats, the flavor says it all.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
We continue here on Tigers Roar. A whole lot to get to. We want to let you guys hear the introduction of the new head coach in Brian Kelly by athletic director from LSU, Scott Woodward, today. That press conference took place about noon. But I just want you guys to listen to Scott Woodward, who did a fantastic job. But I really can't say enough about Scott Woodward. In Scott we trust was the mantra, but at the end, people got antsy. They wanted an answer. They wanted an ending to this coaching search. But Scott Woodward. Just go for a quick rundown. Okay, you got Jimbo to Texas A&M, Buzz Williams to A&M, they had Chris Peterson to Washington. Now you got Kim Mulkey to LSU, Jay Johnson from Arizona to LSU, and now you bring Brian Kelly, a guy with more career wins than any other active coach right now. Woodward is hitting the ball out the park.
I could pay my house note playing poker against Joe Oliva and F. King Alexander.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
You get up and leave.
Scott Woodward is a very good poker player, and I'm not going to lie to you. I was almost in the freaking stage because I had been inundated with so many people. I know you did as well. And it's not just that he named the coach, but potentially with the resume. And I think it's going to take the LSU fan base a little bit of time to get acclimated to his mannerisms and where he's coming from when he speaks. And it will take him. But you know what? When you want to adapt, it's going to be like a glove at some point.
All right, so here is Athletic Director Scott Woodward introducing his man, head coach of the LSU Tigers, Coach Brian Kelly, at today's press conference just around noon here on Tigers Roar.
He's not here to taste success. He's here to sustain it. His vision for what LSU football can become is the same as ours. He's not here to simply fit into our culture. He's here to transform it. And most importantly, his expectations for LSU football are the same as ours. He's not just here to win, he's here to win championships. So please join me in welcoming the head coach of your LSU Fighting Tigers, Brian Kelly.
I will say this, that, when we talk about making decisions, it's really about people and getting a chance to meet President Tate, certainly Scott, and the athletic administration. This is so much about alignment. And for me, alignment relative to this university, the goals, what is in store for LSU athletics as a university, that is what the draw is for me. And to meet, obviously, President Tate and to spend the time that I did with Scott, that cohesion, that collaboration, that kind of communication, that's what, for me, led me here to Baton Rouge. And I also want to thank Chairman Ramey Starnes and the LSU Board of Supervisors. I got a chance to meet them last night. The support that you can see from them is incredible. They are too part of that groundswell of support that we'll have here at LSU. Matt Borman and the Tiger Athletic Foundation, incredible. I can't say enough about my 12 years at Notre Dame, the incredible people that I worked with, and certainly the incredible players that I had the honor to coach there. But that alignment also has to be with my family, because this has been a family journey for me along the way. And my wife, Poche, Gracie, Patrick, Kenzel, thank you for being along the ride for me. And I wouldn't be here without you guys, too, so thank you. So on both sides of the aisle, LSU, that alignment, my family's alignment, and certainly the opportunity to be here amongst the finest players, staff, coaches, being part of the SEC, an incredible challenge and opportunity in my life that I was excited to take on once I was able to get an opportunity to meet Scott, spend time with Scott, hear his vision for the university, and see how it connected so much with mine. I think it just comes down to, for me, an alignment about excellence. That's what I'm about. Excellence in academics and athletics here at LSU, and seeing that, feeling that, and now knowing that we can go off together and fulfill that goal. So, an exciting day for me, an incredible opportunity for everybody associated with LSU, the LSU family. We will have high standards here, and we will fulfill those standards.
That was new head coach of the LSU football team, Brian Kelly, his introductory press comments. That was his opening statement. We'll let you guys hear the question and answer portion, because Michael Barnett was kind enough to pass around the mic, so it'll be nice to listen to the questions that are asked of the new head coach and his responses, an array of topics. Not getting too specific today. Obviously, it's day one, so like you mentioned, he's got to find out who's going to be on this staff, who's coming, who's staying, what's Notre Dame going to do, what's going to happen with their season, are they going to make the playoffs, and possibly some coaches that are on that staff might be joining Coach Brian Kelly down here. And there's a lot to take care of, Bud, man. December 15th, right around the corner, early signing period. In your opinion, what's top three priorities for the new administration, the Brian Kelly era? What do they have to tackle first?
Boy, I tell you what, that is a tough question, because I think you could extend that to 5 or 6 things that he's got to do. Look, first of all, he has got to come in and reestablish relationships with these verbal commitments. Now, Will Campbell is a big offensive lineman from North Louisiana. He's tight with Walker Howard. I'll have Jamie Walker's daddy on tomorrow. But, Will kind of foster a relationship with Brad Davis. And so nobody knows right now who will be kept and retained on this staff and who's going to come over from Notre Dame. So, but the first thing he's got to do is establish how many of these verbal commitments that he's going to be able to have. Like you alluded to, 2 weeks from today, folks. Now, look, when Nick Saban left the Miami Dolphins to go to Alabama after he lied and said he wasn't going to be the next Alabama coach, the difference is that the pro season had ended and there wasn't an early signing period.
Right.
Now with the early signing period, you had to do this. Oh, by the way, I don't think Coach Kelly expounded on this, but this had to be really tough for him to leave that team, seeing that they are number 6. Now, CFP came out last night, and, of course, Georgia's still undefeated and won. Michigan with a statement win.
Wow.
Crazy Jim Harbaugh took Ryan Day out back and spanked him and all the Buckeyes. They're at 2. Obviously, Bama was lucky to win in quadruple overtime, 4 overtimes, but they still are 3. And then Cincinnati's 4. Okie State, which won that game with Bedlam and beat Oklahoma late, is 5. And Notre Dame is 6. Now, we saw the Notre Dame AD, and he really didn't talk about how quickly they're going to fill that job. Can you believe, here it is, 2 weeks away, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, all these places still with vacancies. ULL, the Raging Cajuns. But back to your question, he's got to solidify that recruiting class that's already verbally committed. He's got to vet the staff that has worked here. And just an inkling here, I don't think Jake Peets has a chance to be his offensive coordinator. Holy cow, not throwing to Jack Besh and not giving Garrett Dellinger help.
Oh, my God.
After giving up 4
time
sacks.
after time,
Jake, hope you and your family have a nice Christmas, but it's left a lot to be desired from the offensive standpoint. So you got to figure out if you're going to keep anybody on the staff. Then you got to figure out who from Notre Dame wants to come. He's going to have more money to offer as his staff. Then you have to obviously walk a very sticky and spicy line about transfers from Notre Dame as well as verbal commitments because a lot of those guys, I saw yesterday a cornerback that was committed to Notre Dame, decommitted. LSU's already had a visit with him. So all of that, and then once you get into establishing your roster, there's going to be some attrition, folks. When you have a no-nonsense guy come in, there's always going to be some players leaving. There's going to be some players coming in. So do not freak out when you see this guy or that guy is leaving. But, look, we keep saying it over and over again. I think if there was a 26-hour day, he'd probably be working about 23 or 24. Won't sleep a lot to get done. But hiring those coordinators, we always talk about this, and we saw it with Coach Peets and Coach Durante Jones. You know how important those coordinators are for a head coach.
Right. I mean, the unfortunate thing for LSU and the fans is Coach Brian Kelly has been through this process before. I mean, taking on a new job. Back when he took the coach, the Cincinnati head coach, coach a gig, they were up for a bowl game, and I think he's one of the only coaches ever to actually coach in that bowl game after attaining the new job. He was asked about that today at the press conference, and he kind of gave a general answer about, him and Scott Woodward hadn't discussed that yet, but it's also always a possibility. I'll tell you what, I would not mind a Coach Kelly in a booth with a headset on, just pointing out like the Garrett Dellinger needs help. He's getting run over every series. Whenever number 2 lines around across from him, it's going to be a sack. Like, he needs help. Get a fullback, get a tight end, get a jumbo package over there to chip this guy. Like, just the blatantly obvious things that this coaching staff has refused to acknowledge the entire season. You mentioned Jake Peets, and we won't harp on that because, look, ready to put that far in the rearview mirror. Don't want to rehash. But Durante Jones, when he was given more freedom, did an outstanding job calling defenses. Understood that we had to disguise what we were doing, put pressure on the quarterback, bring the blitz. I thought he flourished when Coach Joe kind of took his hands off the reins of the defense. I don't think JP's got any better.
No.
And you mentioned Jack Bech. He was your top target, okay, once all the guys go down. And I understand here and after the game, well, Jack Bech didn't really practice a lot this week, so they thought he might have had some rust on him. I saw multiple occasions in that game with Jack Bech running with his hand like this, wanting the ball. And, I mean, not to keep bashing on Max Johnson and his pocket presence, but sometimes he holds on to the ball too long.
Absolutely.
And there's just things you can do as a play caller to help your quarterback in those situations, and that never happened. So, yeah, I agree totally with you. First step for Brian Kelly is to get relationships with the guys that are already committed to playing football at LSU. You're Jack Bech, you're Walker Howards, the guys that are committed already. And then, yeah, figure out who's going to be on this staff. I don't think you have to have the entire staff put together before December 15th in order to really solidify a lot of these guys, especially the Louisiana guys who, in their heart of hearts, they want to be wanted by LSU. And you get a new guy who's won so many games. What a resume Coach Brian Kelly has. I think that he can put enough together, plus what's already left in town on the coaching staff, to get a lot of these guys signed up.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to all those Tiger fans that showed up to the LSU A&M game, and B, the ones that stayed at the end. And I don't know how many it was. And we talked about jobs that Brian Kelly's got to do, and there's no doubt Scott Woodward, President Tate, and everybody realizes that. It's been tough. Now, the bottom line generally does not come out until a year or two afterwards.
Correct.
But we don't know monetarily how LSU did in 2020 because of COVID. And once again, there were not many big-time crowds this year, so you've got to get those fannies back into Tiger Stadium. You've got to sell it out with season tickets. You've got to get LSU and Tiger Stadium being a dominating and very tough place to play, especially at night. All these things are on the peripheral. But you mentioned, and this was brought up on the radio show today, guy says, man, I'd like to see Brian Kelly get up in the box and see what's going on. And he's already going to be more familiar with the personnel in 2 weeks. Only thing I said is I hope he's got his blood pressure medicine, because there have been so many calls, man. Look, you know, and it is amazing. It is amazing just how picky LSU fans are. The BFF, he doesn't look nice. He looks mean. I said, I'm just going to quote Vince Lombardi many years ago. And, of course, that goes way back to old-timers that are watching know about Vince Lombardi. But he said, I'm not here to be your friend. I don't care if you like me, but I want you to respect me. And I see a lot of Nick Saban in Brian Kelly. The question is, can he get the players, can he get the coordinators, and can he play an SEC schedule week in and week out? See, that's the problem with Oklahoma and Notre Dame and all these other teams. They play 2 or 3 tough games all year long, and then they don't have the kahunas to be able to make the big play, because this is a pressure situation. When you're in the SEC grind, you played in plenty of games, and even though it beats you up physically, I think mentally you're more acclimated to play in those big games. Oh, by the way, kind of off the beaten trail, does Georgia take Bama down, or are we going to call him Kirby, I'm not so smart, Saturday afternoon or Saturday night about 6:30? I mean, certainly they should win that football game, seeing that this is not a prototypical Alabama team.
No, I completely agree. This is not your dominant Alabama football team that you've seen so far. But I'll tell you what, the committee, I don't think that they don't want Alabama to win that game. So you have 2 SEC teams in the Final Four. And that would work out well for Brian Kelly and his whole situation. And LSU's situation, truly, if he's going to bring over some of that staff to where Notre Dame doesn't get into the Final Four. But, of course, then you have to worry about what bowl game they are going to get invited to. I'm sitting there at number 6. But, look, it's going to come down to Dave Aranda and Baylor. What can Oklahoma State do? And if Alabama beats Georgia, they get in. If
they're both in.
They're both
both in.
I don't want to see Alabama. I have Alabama fatigue. I have not disliked seeing them struggle to beat teams like Arkansas, LSU, and Auburn.
And Florida. They were lucky to beat Auburn.
So I don't think that they really deserve to be in the Final Four. I know it's a very talented team, but they've had an off year, and schools have off years. And you have to judge it by what they do this season, not what the resume or the pedigree of the program is. To answer your question, though, I think this is the year Georgia takes care of Alabama, and Kirby Smart gets it off of his chest that he finally has that under his belt.
Yeah, and if Michigan can finally beat Ohio State for the first time, also the Atlanta Braves
That game was incredible,
won,
yeah.
which we all thought that they were going to grab the throat. I'll just give you an analogy that we could all judge, and I know people make very quick and rash assumptions after you see a guy on TV for his first day. But I'm going to give you the old analogy. You can't judge a book by its cover or the first chapter.
Right.
All of us, a 20-chapter book, and guess what we do? We read the first chapter, the second chapter, and then we want to go to the end to see how it ends. Have some patience. This is going to be a reset, a rebuild, and I think for the old school people, you're going to bring toughness. Oh, by the way, isn't it nice to see LSU? They're going to have some big offensive linemen that are physical. You're going to have some big tight ends, so Jack Besh will probably be a slot receiver and a guy. But I think the physical, mental, and psychological toughness of LSU is going to go up appreciably with this coach. But have some patience. Give the guy a little chance. And don't come to any preconceived ideas until you give the man a chance. We have a tendency to jump to conclusions. And Jerry DiNardo brought back the magic. But he had 3 winning seasons. Guess what? Lost 2 offensive and defensive coordinators, winning the tank. Mm-hmm. So it's an excellent hire, no doubt about it, the resume. But it is going to take a little while for everybody to get acclimated to each other.
Well, Bud, man, you look at the last 2 coaches, just in sheer quirkiness, okay, you had like Les Miles, then you had Coach O. Like to have like a CEO business type approach to the job is something LSU fans have not seen in a long time. So yeah, it's going to take some adjustment, no doubt.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the IQ of those 2 versus Brian Kelly's IQ, but let's just say this. When Nick Saban came, of course, we're talking 21 years ago. It's kind of hard to believe when we talk about it like that. But you never know, and I would much rather win in that room with the recruits, with that staff, than worry about winning a press conference. And remember the first time Les got to LSU and they were running out the tunnel? You remember what he said?
That grass looks yummy.
Where's my wife? Look, it takes a lot of time. This is the first time he's been acclimated to being south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Right.
But guess what? Did Jay Johnson take to LSU? Did Nick Saban take to LSU? Did Skip Bertman when he came over from Miami? Just give them time. There's going to be some adjustment. I think when it's all said and done, it might take a year or 2. I think LSU is going to be back in the mix in a couple of years. I really do.
We have a whole lot more here on Tigers Roar. Next segment, we'll let you guys hear the question and answer portion from Brian Kelly's introductory press conference. Don't go anywhere. You are watching Tigers Roar.
Creel Tree Service is a licensed and insured tree service providing tree and stump removal, topping, trimming, cabling, pruning, and fertilizing. We have free stump removal with takedowns, free estimates, affordable rates, and senior citizens discounts. Call 774-TREE. That's 774-8733. Get your yard ready for the warmer weather. If it deals with a tree, call me, Creel Tree Service, 774-8733. That's 774-TREE.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are 2 busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Tremonti's has meat. Tremonti's has seafood. Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters. Huge wine and liquor selection. Beer and all the spices you need. Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats. Ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs. 20 flavors of sausage for the grill. Daily lunch specials and game processing. On-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremonti's.com.
Sharing holiday cheers starts in the rewarding Mazda CX-30. Find yours during the season of inspiration.
You'll feel inspired this holiday season in a new CX-30 from Team Mazda on Airline.
Caught spiders, services.
The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at The Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales.
Hello. Hola. 你好.
Experience what the Baton Rouge International School can offer your children. Now welcoming displaced students for short and long-term stability.
We continue here on Tigers Roar, talking LSU football and their new head coach and Coach Brian Kelly, formerly from Notre Dame. 12 years at Notre Dame, the winningest coach in that storied franchise history. Look, there's a reason they made the movie Rudy. I mean, Notre Dame is a big deal, bud, man. They nationally recruit. It's considered a premier job. Not easy to recruit there. You got to convince 18-year-old kids to go play in the snow. Then, of course, they have the academic restrictions. So Brian Kelly's never had really the caliber of player that you can get in your own backyard here in Louisiana especially, but across the whole southeast of this country. It's good to have the avenues that you've been recruiting nationally, but, I mean, to have that pipeline of Louisiana talent in your backyard, that's got to be something he is licking his chops about.
JCs are in the mix now. Transfer portal is going to be very active. Logan Diggs is a kid that Notre Dame signed last year. Guys like that were recruited by both LSU and Notre Dame, they might get some of those players back. The biggest problem, obviously, is being able to do all these things in 2 weeks. But yeah, I really want to see what he does on the offensive and defensive coordinators because, as we know, the reputation is not a sexy offense, but physically fit, very dominant, that big offensive line, those big tight ends. And we already know Walker Howard, who is your prime quarterback commit, is all in if Tommy Rees, who was his offensive coordinator at Notre Dame, comes to LSU. Now, they offered him appreciably more money. Marcus Freeman, I do not have a lot of confidence that he will end up being over here because he wants to be like everybody else and put himself in a position to hit a head coaching opportunity. But I like the way somebody asked him about is it true Kevin Falk and Corey Raymond are going to be on the staff, and he dispelled rumors real quick. So, you throw stuff against the wall, and Bill and I and everybody around here on the break were talking about this guy. Scott Woodward holds his cards close to the vest. Yeah, right. I think Brian Kelly's going to do the same thing as he embarks on Baton Rouge.
That's right. It's certainly a question of offensive defensive coordinator. You mentioned Tommy Rees. I mean, the guy went to Notre Dame, a family very familiar with that area. I think it's going to be tough to lure him away to Baton Rouge. Of course, you mentioned Marcus Freeman. I agree. I think he's in line for the head coaching gig either there or at possibly Cincinnati if Luke Fickell takes the Notre Dame job. Sure. The coaching carousel has been wild this season. Of course, there's a lot to be learned still about Brian Kelly and his staff and what he's going to implement on offense and defense. Looking forward to his ability to recruit those big uglies, but, man, I mean, it starts up front in the SEC, no doubt, game in and game out. You see how dominant Georgia's been this entire season with that amazing defensive front. And look, defensive line has been one of Notre Dame's very strong points in the last few years. I mean, they've had, I think, 9 first-round players in the last 5 years ago, and a bunch of those guys have been defensive linemen. So looking forward to a lot of things. Still a lot of questions that need to be answered. Not a lot of time to do it. December 15th is our early sign period for the recruits. But I wanted to let you guys hear from head coach Brian Kelly. Here's the question and answer portion of his introductory press conference that took place just around noon today. Here's about 10 minutes of that. He answers a bunch of different questions. He gets to meet the reporters, which is always a good thing, Bud, man. Start building a rapport with these reporters. A lot of people showed up, and they all wanted to get their cameras in there, get some footage of their new coach. It's a big deal here in Baton Rouge. So here is the question and answer portion of the introductory press conference for the new head coach of the LSU Tigers, Brian Kelly.
Wilson Alexander from The Advocate. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure.
You've mentioned over the last couple of days that also, in addition maybe to alignment, you were ready for just sort of a new opportunity. What was it about, maybe at this point in your life and your career, that you felt ready to take that next step? And what was it, additionally, about LSU? You mentioned this already, but that really drew you to this place for that new opportunity?
Yeah, again, I think, there was no plan in place as I entered the 2021 season that I was, looking for another opportunity. I had a great football team that we were developing, but, when you get an opportunity to talk to Scott Woodward and he presents a clear vision of the plan here and the opportunity, it was an exciting vision for me to look at. And as I got a chance to, speak to more people about this opportunity, I just felt it was something that I had to take on. And when I talked to the boss, who's sitting in the front row there, and she was part of that decision-making process, there was no turning back.
Hey, Brian, Michael Cobble,
Michael.
Channel 2 here in Baton Rouge.
Great.
We see a lot of each other.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you.
A lot of people are going to wonder why, right? You could have been very comfortable in South Bend.
Yeah.
You have a team that has a chance to make, or had a team, that had a chance to make the playoffs. I think that is the big question. What drew you so passionately to walk away from that opportunity to come here?
Yeah, it's never easy, right? I mean, these decisions it's my choice. I own it, right? And it's 100% my decision. Those young men I love dearly, and it made it for a difficult decision. But when I was able to look at it and the opportunity here was one as I got a chance to really, as I mentioned earlier, talk to Scott about the resources and the opportunity here to really make a significant change. I believe that I can make a significant difference here. And you want to be able to make a difference. And I, along with the support, our President Tate, the administration, collaboratively can make a big difference.
Brian back here. ABC 57 News, Anthony Tochi back at South Bend.
Yeah.
First and foremost, congratulations on finding the fairy godmother you talked about a couple of weeks ago. Couple things as far as the departure. How do you feel like that impacts your legacy back at Notre Dame? And then which assistance, if any, from Notre Dame are you interested in bringing with you?
Yeah, leaving is never easy. It could never be done in a fashion that you could, say that, hey, it's always the right way to do it. It was just, brought up, right? This team at Notre Dame is an outstanding football team, and they deserve to be in the playoffs. And you're not going to be coaching them. So it's never easy when you leave. We did our best. I wanted to get in front of them, and I was fortunate that I had that opportunity to get in front of them and tell them that I was coming to LSU face to face, because that's everything that we've done in my life, and I'll do the same thing here at LSU. We will look you in the eye, and we will tell you what we're doing. We'll be transparent. Legacies are not part of what I spend time thinking about. People will evaluate me based upon my life's work and how I've treated people, and make their own decisions. As far as coaches, the coaches that are on staff there at Notre Dame are still employed there. Are there coaches there that I would like to join me here? Certainly, but that's a process that we'll have to work through. There are teams to coach on both sides. This team is going to be preparing for a bowl game. Hopefully, Notre Dame gets a chance to play in the playoffs. They have to be prepared. So this has to be done with great communication and understanding that the players are part of this as well.
Ron Snyder, News 15 in Lafayette. Welcome.
Thank you, Ron.
I'm sure you're aware of all the expectations here and the scrutiny. So what's just your plan to get the ground running and get to work and really start working on your goals?
Yeah, I mean, there's not enough hours in the day right now. If you can give me a couple more hours, would be fine with that. I really think it's that, we know the things that need to be done here, but we'll be measured, we'll be thoughtful, we'll be intentional, and checking each one of those off as we go. Investment in people is important, and making sure that we are doing that the right way. Lives are involved here as we make transitions, so we want to take care of that. We certainly want to take care of the recruiting and make sure that all the young men that have made their commitments here, that they know where they stand. So there are important matters that need to get to, and I think everybody understands that we've been on a whirlwind here the past 24 hours, but we got to get to work, and we will do that in short order and get to the very important matters.
Hi, Coach. Jacques Doucet, WAFB TV, straight ahead to your right.
Thank you.
There's been some talk that Corey Raymond and Kevin Falk will be on your staff. Can you share if that's true? And is there anything you can share about who will be on your staff at this point?
Yeah, I have not made any decisions based upon who will stay and who may go. I haven't had any individual conversations with any of them, so any narrative out there is not coming from any conversations that I've had with them. They are well respected, and I will get an opportunity to vet out all of those coaches. They've done a great job. I know the business. They know the business. There are realities in this business, but we'll get to all of those coaches because, as I mentioned earlier, they have families, they have lives, and we have to get moving in that direction.
Brian, Brody Miller with The Athletic. How's it going?
Yeah.
Obviously you are entering kind of a new world down the South, down in the SEC. I guess, do you see that as a challenge? And what are the keys, I guess, to adapting to that?
Look, I came down here because I wanted to be with the best. The resources here are outstanding. It starts with the alignment, excellence, the standard of expectation. Listen, you're looked at in terms of championships here, and I want that. I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage. That's what my passion is. And so, yeah, that's part of the draw. There's no doubt about that. I'm going to learn about Louisiana. My first day on Notre Dame's campus is when I took the job. This is my first day in Louisiana. I didn't know what this meant until today. I know what it means today. And I'm going to learn a lot more as we go. But our family, we're going to immerse ourselves into the culture of Louisiana. We're not here to change anything. We're here to get changed by it. And that's going to be fun. That's exciting. And we're going to have a standard within our program that will be one that we build every single day. So it's for us, it will be an experience that we're looking forward to.
Hello, Coach. My name is Fletcher Mackel. I work at NBC in New Orleans. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
I have two questions because I talk a lot, so bear with me.
Got it.
First, much has been made of other coaches not wanting to come to the SEC. Can you talk about why you wanted to come to the SEC and specifically this division? And secondly, if you could potentially maybe pull the curtain back a little bit on the process and shed some light on, did this come together quickly for you, or was this a long process when dealing with LSU to accept this position?
Yeah, so, look, I mean, the SEC, we know about its prowess in terms of success and the players and the teams and the coaches. But I will say this. If LSU did not have the alignment and the leadership and the people and the desire for excellence, the SEC doesn't really matter to me. It's this university that happens to be in the SEC matters to me the most. And so when you get this university, LSU, with the leadership that it has, and the cohesiveness of leadership across the board. And it's in the SEC, ding, 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 right? And so for me, you add that, it made it an incredible opportunity for me.
Head coach Brian Kelly right here on Tigers Roar. Budman, I think we ought to save that clip, right, and play it back maybe in 5-6 years and just see how the vernacular and the speech patterns have changed for Coach Kelly while he's been down here in Louisiana, in the South. Look, it's going to take a while to get used to his mannerisms, the way he expresses himself, the way he communicates, but we both agree that this old school approach of no nonsense, self-discipline. You're going to go to class. You're going to go to school first. You're going to get your grades where they need to be, get your work done in the classroom, and then you're going to work to our standard, right? A lot of these players, it seems like in the recent years, have come to LSU and thinking, this is my interstate shot to the NFL, and I'm going to be here for as long as I'm going to be here, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And if you don't like that, then oh well. This standard is going to be different, or so it seems to be so far for this new administration, this new era of Brian Kelly as the head coach.
The three words that you heard often in that press conference, and of course I know many of you have already seen the full go of it, and you could go to tigerbait.com. He has it up there on his site, and we're going to talk to Mike in a little bit. But alignment, talking about President Tate and Scott Woodward and Stephanie Remp and the LSU faithful that basically sold him on coming to LSU. The process. Obviously, this is going to be a long process, and it's going to be hard and tedious work. And then, of course, I used to kid Saban about this. Saban, this is a true story. Nick said relative about 20 times in a 20-minute conversation and media get-together. And finally, at the end, I joked with him, and of course, I was able to joke with him. For some reason, we got along, and he let me joke with him. Now, nobody's done that with him since he's won 7 national championships. But I raised my hand and said, "Coach, how many relatives do you have?" Because he, but relative to the process, alignment, and when he was asked about culture, he said standards.
Yep.
He is going to put a line in the stand. And there are going to be standards for athletic performance, academic performance, and behavior issues off the field. And I think that that is why a lot of people. And let's give a big shout out to AT in the truck. He called this puppy a couple days ago when I was having a meltdown because Lincoln Riley said, no moss, no moss. Yep. I'm going to the left coast. But AT was one of the first ones to sit there and tell us Brian Kelly might be the guy.
Yep. Shout out 18 the truck. Might know more than we give him credit for, bud, man.
Yeah.
He listened to a lot of good sports talk the past few years. I'm telling you, you've been teaching him everything he knows.
He knows what's going on, and he
had it right though.
People have patience because when you see an initial press conference, it very seldom tells the full tale and story about how this is going to be a long and tedious process. But and you're going to have to get your fingernails and your hands dirty. But when LSU lines up to play Florida State in the Superdome on September 4th, which is a Sunday night of Labor Day weekend, that is going to be a lot of fun because there's going to be a lot of hard work and a lot of transition between this day and, roughly 10 months away.
Yep. Going to take another quick break. We'll come back and talk to Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com. Of course, Mike's been busy calling in a lot of different shows. And, of course, he has TigerBait.com chock full of stuff you can go look at about the new hire, the football team, and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk to Mike Scarborough after this break. Come back. You're watching Tigers Roar.
Taste the feeling. Post on Church Point Road in Gonzales would like to invite everyone to their newly renovated events hall, a beautiful 9,600 square foot facility that features a 5,500 square foot main hall and a separate 600 square foot conference room. Renters have access to our huge kitchen, large stage, tables, chairs, bar, and covered outdoor cooking. So plan your next wedding, party, conference, and more at the Post on Church Point Road, Gonzales.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
At the Team Automotive Group, we make it easy for you to buy here or sell here. Buy here and save on hundreds of certified and pre-owned vehicles. Or sell here while your vehicle is worth more than it ever has been, and we'll pay you top value. Buy here or sell here at the Team Automotive Group.
Ready?
We continue here on Tigers Roar. Fortunate enough to be joined by Mike Scarborough from TigerBite.com. Mike, hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. It was a very busy weekend, so we'll jump right into it. LSU introduces their new head coach in Coach Brian Kelly, formerly of Notre Dame for the past 12 years, the winningest coach in that storied program. Mike, get your initial thoughts of the hire. Did Scott Woodward knock it out the park, or what was it, off the wall? What do you think?
I don't know if it was off the wall, but it's not normally that you would ever think that LSU would be yanking away and hiring away the winningest coach in Notre Dame football history. And that's what happened.
But wait a minute, don't be so humble. You know, we've been doing these shows every Wednesday. Last night we did Tuesday night because basketball is tonight, and I learned a long time ago, and Mike it's hard to go against LSU football, basketball, baseball when they're live with a live radio or internet or Facebook or YouTube show. But Mike mentioned early on Brian Kelly a couple times.
Sure did.
And to quote you, you said, watch Brian Kelly. And, of course, after he said no the first time, he came back and is going to end up making over $100 million when all of the incentives get reached. But no, you kind of mentioned that a couple times, so don't be so humble. You and AT back in the truck, y'all had a gut feeling while I was all in, thinking I was living the life for Riley, driving around in a new Lincoln. And guess what? Well, that Lincoln ran out of gas.
Well, you know, he was very, I don't want to say evasive, but, you know, and I don't expect him to ever say, well, actually, we've been talking for several months, you know, but, you know, I did find out through a source 5 weeks ago that the initial conversation between Woodward and Brian Kelly, or if you want to say representatives, was a no. And obviously they went back in, and I don't know, maybe a decade or so from now we'll get the whole story. But it's just really incredible to hear him today, and it's big national news. I mean, I loaded up Dan Patrick's show. He got 15 minutes on that. Everybody's buzzing about it, but of course, there's a lot of buzz out there. I mean, Lincoln Riley leaving for USC, and the magnitude of that financial package, the financial package for Brian Kelly, two ultra successful coaches from two blue blood programs, and Oklahoma's blue blood, Notre Dame's the bluest of the blue blood leave for other schools. I mean, Jimbo Fisher from Florida State to A&M was a rarity. But now it's a whole new game out there now. I don't know if it's going to continue. If we're going to continue to see wild stuff like this, or maybe this is just the wildest of the years. I don't know.
Mike joined me on the radio show right after the press conference, along with Blake Ruffino on Are You Serious Sports. And the first ice cream flavor Mike said about this press conference was vanilla. Mike, now that you've come back and have been able to break down all the questions and the quotes and all that, listen, I'll just say this. I have been to South Bend, Indiana for a good bit many, many years ago. And I think it's hard to come from South Louisiana and know what's going on in South Bend. Right now, Brian Kelly he just learned what the L means. He's just learning about the love of food and all the things, the way we live down here in the South. The girlfriend said he looked mean. He looked kind of pissed off. I'm going like, first impressions, Mike, aren't that important to me in the grand scheme of things. But did you come around, or you still think that he was a little bit not willing to share too much with today's first press conference?
Yeah, no, I still think there's so many things that have to happen in order for him to get his staff together and how it's all going to come about. This is really, I don't know how they're going to juggle everything that you've got a current staff at LSU that is going to coach a bowl game. You got to have those staff members. Anybody that he wants to hire has to come. Of course, anybody he's looking at is probably coaching a very good, an assistant or a coordinator on a very good team, or many of them on that Notre Dame team, where there's real scenarios where they could be a playoff team. So I'm guessing they're going to get to the point, if I'm sure he's probably already there, where he's like, okay, I don't expect these guys to say I'm going to join Brian Kelly's staff and then be on the next plane. It might just be where you try to get to December 15th with as many names to relate to recruits as possible of who will eventually be on your staff, who's agreed to be a part of the staff. But in the meantime, you're using current assistants. Like I just saw Quincy Wiggins just tweeted out a photo of him with Andre Carter, and how December 15th is the day. So the previous staff, or actually they're the current staff, Orgeron staff, they're still out working. I know yesterday, I was told yesterday that Jake Peets wanted to go on Tuesday to see Walker Howard, and they were basically holding on to it because they can only get an in-home once a week from a coach, and they were saving it in case Brian Kelly wanted to make the rounds in the coming days while he's here.
Right, Mike. I mean, a lot of questions left on the staff. I thought Brian Kelly did a good job alluding in his press conference that he wants to prioritize talking to the people that have committed themselves to playing at Louisiana State University. One of those commitments I know you're very close to, and a guy that seems to be very upbeat about the hire in Walker Howard. He says that Coach Brian Kelly is going to take them to championships. I mean, Walker Howard seems to be all in, right?
Yeah, he is. And, of course, Walker needs to get his good buddy and one of his very best friends, Will Campbell, on board. Will seems a little upset because he's forged a very strong relationship in a short period of time with Brad Davis. So, but I think he'll be fine. But and probably all it takes is a good phone call, or if Coach Kelly can get on a private jet, get up to Monroe and back. But we're going to see how that plays out.
Durante Jones also with a picture, a DB, guys, that was committed to Notre Dame, has already decommitted. Mike, I guess that's the next question that we didn't ask you on the radio today. How soon do you expect them to have guys to come in and make visits? So we're talking December 1. The national signing date is 2 weeks from today, so I guess that leaves, 2 more weekends? And what kind of numbers are you expecting? Can they get to 15 or 20 for December 15, or is it just a crapshoot right now to know?
That's a crapshoot. I mean, I don't know. Maybe could they get to 20? But you know, and how many of them signed? I mean, can you get, you know, could you add a handful of new commitments by then? And who's going to sign or not sign? I think there might be some nervousness out there by some people, but I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really want to see how quickly Coach Kelly is out on the road. Honestly, I don't know if he can right now or what the rules are. But if he could be out visiting recruits tonight, I'd probably prefer him doing that than speaking at halftime of the basketball game.
Yeah, great point, Mike. I mean, there's so much to be done. I mean, Coach Kelly said in his press conference he wished he had a couple more hours in the day, and you certainly believe his time has to be managed to perfection in the next couple of weeks. Of course, you have December 15th and LSU.
And look, and I'm not, you know, like I said, I don't know the ins and outs because there's some, you know, there's NCAA rules and compliance that I have no idea about,
Right.
and so maybe it prevents him. But like we had the press conference at noon. Well, there was a second round of interviews that was given to the local TV stations a few hours later. And then he did Dan Patrick after the noon press conference. And it's like, well, you could do Dan Patrick while you're in the car on the way to Lafayette or going to see Emory Jones or, you know, whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I think I had a mental picture in my mind of, you know, 1995. Or I guess it would have been, or it would have been December of '94 of Jared DiNardo jumping in the car right after his press conference and driving to Karen Crow.
Right.
That's kind of the picture I had in my mind.
So, Mike, in your opinion, how much of this staff really needs to be in place before December 15th to get guys like a Quincy Wiggins to kind of sign on board with LSU?
Say it again.
Like, how much of his staff does he need to have in place in order to get guys to commit and ready to sign?
Well, I think there might be some kids that might have a little trepidation if they don't know who their position coach is.
Yeah.
But maybe the fact that it's LSU and you now know who the head coach is all that's needed.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the
There might be some other coaches that need to know more than that.
Right.
I mean, some other players. You know, LaTerrence Welch several months ago said that he'd be rethinking things if Corey Raymond wasn't retained.
Right.
Well, we thought Corey Raymond was retained, and the media reports were out there, and everybody fell in line and reported as fact, and of course we repeated it because everybody was going with it. Well, he shot that down today and said that's not the case. So I don't know. I tend to think Corey Raymond might get retained. I've heard differing things on Kevin Falk. But I think he's going to interview everybody. I think he's going to give everybody a fair shot. I hope he talks to Coach Baker if he doesn't have a definite linebackers coach in mind that he wants to either bring with him or a guy that he's always wanted but never could get that he can maybe get now. But if it's up in the air and he's indifferent about it, I hope he interviews Blake Baker.
Yeah.
You know what happens? You know, we're all talking about Marcus Freeman. But, you know, he's going to have a lot of big options to choose from. So if you don't get him, does he maybe, you know, sit down and give Durante Jones a chance to sit across the desk and plead his case? I've always been of the mindset that he needed a clean house. But, you know, let him make that decision.
Yeah, here's guys where I look at LSU right now after seeing them, and of course everybody knows the ecstasy and the high point in 2019, January 13, 2020. Nobody will ever forget that game and that night, and of course that's still less than 2 years calendar-wise, but it's going to hell in a handbasket. Here's what I'm looking at as far as what LSU needs, and Mike gets excited on this first one, because what does the state of Louisiana not do a great job of producing, JP?
Linemen, especially on the offensive
uglies.
side. Yeah.
Big uglies. And
Right.
Mike, I know you're excited about LSU, once again, having some big uglies, having some big tight ends. You gotta, with all of the departures at cornerback and the opt-outs and the injuries, you gotta restore LSU with numbers in the corners with so many people that play spread and nickel and dime. And Mike, I know this is also close to your heart. Let's be honest. Nothing wrong with Tommy Moffitt, but they've got to do a better job with strengthening and conditioning. And it's one thing for a 50-year-old guy to have love handles and some extra fat. But when you're competing with the big boys, they got to get those bodies looking like Georgia and Alabama. And they've got to trim up and get stronger. And so I hope people realize that there are a lot of things, even though, JP and Mike, LSU still won 6 games with 20-something players not being available and 2 coordinators that were calling plays for the first time. So a lot of good, but still a lot of work to do. Position-wise, where do you think LSU's got to go and reinforce as a priority?
Offensive line. And he was talking about he doesn't, he said, I can't remember his wording, but it was basically saying, look, I don't know the roster, but I know the roster. I know where there's issues. I know what we've got to address immediately. And I'm paraphrasing, I think pretty close. And I know it's no secret. Everybody knows it's offensive line. But now you've also got an issue at corner. Could you use another tight end? We all think everything's hunky-dory at quarterback. You think you got 2 that are sticking and Walker Howard coming in a couple of weeks? But you need to make sure that that's absolutely 100%. So I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of the offensive lineman, but man, in the press conference, I thought Coach Kelly did a great job. They asked about recruiting offensive linemen and developing them. He's like, look, we look for a demeanor, a way a kid carries himself, the attitude he has, the way he prepares himself. And I think he hit the nail on the head with that one. I mean, yeah, you have big guys that look athletic, but sometimes they just don't pan out. I mean, to be an offensive lineman, especially in the SEC, you have to be absurdly tough and a little bit nasty, and also carry yourself and learn the playbook and know the gaps. And it just takes a certain kind of individual. And look, Coach Kelly's had a great run with very good offensive and defensive side of the ball on the line, and that is something to be very excited about, in my opinion, as an LSU football fan.
Yeah, the other thing that impressed me is that he mentioned a couple times during the press conference that, Notre Dame lost 7 or 8 or 10 players that went on to the NFL in a single year. And, of course, really that's what happened after 2019, those 14 guys that ended up, as we know, 5 in the first round and 10 in the first 3 rounds. Mike, as far as the style of offense and the style of defense, nobody asking him about 3-4 or 4-3. I'm hearing the offense is going to be multiple. How soon do you think it's imperative that he gets a coordinator in here on both sides of the ball? And does that happen? Do you think that's a must to have in here in a week or so because of the recruiting, the sense of urgency with recruiting right now?
Man, I think it's going to be a tall task. I really do. Don't you think that it's probably unlikely that he would have an offensive and defensive coordinator named by December 15th?
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's likely that he won't.
Right.
Well, of course, that could impact players. And back to Will Campbell.
I'll take that back. I think a lot of the guys are because of some of the coaches involved and they're being involved in the playoffs. Who Notre Dame might hire and what Marcus Freeman might do. Reese is now being listed for jobs as a head coach. Notre Dame's fighting to keep him. He's a Notre Dame alum. So if he doesn't get him, who would be some offensive coordinators that he would choose from? Might he go for Lane Kiffin's right-hand guy, Levy? It's going to be anxious. I think there's a lot of things that could play out here.
Hey, we mentioned Will Campbell and not being that enamored because he's growing so fond with Brad Davis, JP. I don't think he's got a problem because Notre Dame has historically put big numbers in the NFL, as you alluded to, the last 5, 6, 7 years. And so I think Walker Howard will work on him. But, hey, man, if you want a guy that puts NFL linemen in, that's another thing. The offensive line coach, I'm going to put you on the spot, Mike. Does Tommy Moffitt get retained?
I don't think so.
Yeah. JP, you see this with your son growing up and trying to get him bigger and stronger. I just think strength and conditioning, you got to kick it up a notch from what we've seen on the playing field the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just making better habits for yourself to want to be the best you can be each and every time out there and pushing yourself always. Look, it's easy to get complacent when you're getting all the cool social media likes and you're playing an SEC for LSU and you get all these cool videos made about you and you're sitting in a really great spot. In a couple of years you might go to the NFL, so you're not really trying to push yourself to reach that next. Somebody's got to push you. And sometimes, unfortunately, the message just gets stale when you're talking to these 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. And I agree with Mike. If he was going to clean house, there would be a couple of people that I would personally like to see stay on with the staff. But I think Tommy Moffitt, and he's done a great job for LSU. He's contributed a lot to the program, but perhaps his message has just gotten stale with the players, and it might be good for a change of atmosphere and a change of message to these young guys.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees that, and Tommy has been a great Tiger for many, many years.
Yep.
Be interesting to see. Mike, you mentioned going on Dan Patrick and all of that, and obviously you keep up with all this. How's the national perception been of LSU hiring Brian Kelly? What's the national people saying?
You got the typical jerks out there stirring the pot, thinking it's disgusting and leaving a team that could be in the playoffs. And look, man, there are some things. I mean, I think a lot of people can probably, it's okay to be a bit uncomfortable with the salaries that are getting paid out there. And,
right.
and where are we at right now? I get it. But I thought the Dan Patrick interview was very good. Obviously, they've done a lot of interviews together. Isn't Dan Patrick a Notre Dame fan?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, big Notre Dame guy. So they were real loose together, and we're having some fun at that interview. I've got that linked on the front page of TigerBait.com. I think people enjoy listening to that because they were cutting up, and it was fun.
Question I want to ask both of you guys real quick before we let you go, Mike. With all the money that's been thrown around to these college coaches, is that going to entice some of these NFL guys to maybe think about coming back to college to a very successful program like a USC or LSU or somewhere in the SEC? The $100 million contracts. Even Mel Tucker at Michigan State just signed a deal that's going to make him the highest paid African-American coach in sports. I mean, it's absurd the money they're throwing around.
Well, here's the thing. That's another facet as to why I think the early signing period should be repealed.
Yeah.
Because, if there's no early signing period, then all of a sudden athletics directors can give more consideration to NFL coaches.
Yep. That's a great point.
You never
and not just for head coaches. Then head coaches, can take their time and, like in the old days, go to the coaches convention in early January. And they all convene on a major hotel and go from one room to the other and do interviews and jockey for position. And that's usually where coaches fill their staffs and people move from one job to the next.
Yep.
And, so that's usually the NFL regular season ends in. So then that makes it so NFL assistants are available to go down to the college level because now that the mask is off of college football and NIL money and these big TV contracts are getting bigger and bigger, and now you've got college coaches making as much as the top 3 or 4 NFL coaches.
Right.
I imagine, but some assistant coaches, want to be a part of that pool to be chose from.
Well, and look, my answer to you, JP, is that the college game is becoming more and more like the NFL.
Yep.
Coaches' salaries going up to NFL numbers. NIL, I was surprised nobody, of course, there were a lot of questions. Everybody's trying to get their question in. But I'm interested to see what he thinks about the future of NIL, how involved he will get there. And as we know, with this free transfer and not having to sit out, that's kind of like free agency in the NFL. So,
you have players getting paid.
Yeah.
You have endorsement deals.
Yep.
The only difference between college football and pro football is the athletes have to go to class.
Yep.
College football absolutely is pro football now.
Yep. Good stuff, man. Wrap it up, JP.
Yeah,
with Mike.
certainly appreciate you, Mike. Look forward to talking with you next week. Before we let you go, tell everybody about TigerBait.com and how they can subscribe today. And look, it's the holidays. It's a great time to get that Tiger fan in your life. A subscription to TigerBait.com.
Yeah, I tell LSU fans, give yourself a Christmas gift for Tiger Bait and go subscribe. Choose the annual package. We've got a lot coming your way. And now that there's a head football coach, recruiting has really kind of been in limbo. And so that's going to be our entire focus on Tiger Bait the rest of the way. And, of course, covering coaching, position fillings. And of course, Kim Mulkey and Will Wade. And so right when they hit their stretch, they each got a game coming up here. And they'll have like about 10 days off for exams. During that 10-day period we're going to fill that hole with loads of recruiting info.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the great stuff. Of course, we did the Facebook last night because we didn't want to collide with LSU basketball tonight. LSU, an 11-point favorite over the Bobcats of Ohio. But, hey, it's a good time to be a Tiger fan, and it'll be interesting to see how these next 2 weeks unfold. And keep up the great work. I know you've been working around the clock, and you won't be able to really enjoy Christmas until about December 16, Mike.
No doubt. I can't wait.
All right.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, guys. Talk soon. Thanks.
Oh, this is a great job, Mike Scarborough. We're going to take another quick break, come back, wrap it up here on Tigers Roar. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm JP. He's the Bud Man, and you're watching Tigers Roar.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people, too.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats. The flavor says it all.
Hello. Hola. 你好.
Experience what the Baton Rouge International School can offer your children. Now welcoming displaced students for short and long-term stability.
We continue here on Tigers Roar, ready to wrap it up here on a Wednesday, Bud, man. Marty's cracking me up over there during the break. It was a wild weekend in college football, a lot of upsets.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State was a great game. You mentioned Jim Harbaugh. I think it was his best performance as a head coach thus far for the Michigan Wolverines. Did you see the scene after that game on the field? I mean, it was incredible.
Michigan finally put the thing to bed. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh was 0 for 5 against Ohio State going into that game, and they physically took them out back and dominated the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Michigan's number 2 right now in the latest CFP. They've got Iowa Saturday night, Baylor and Bedlam. What a game with Bedlam, man. Everybody's pulling for Oklahoma State because they think Lincoln Riley's coming over here.
Right.
And lo and behold, it all unfolds perfectly except Lincoln Riley goes to USC, which is probably a better gig for him.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
But Cincinnati is probably going to be in. They're the group of 5. They're not in the Power 5.
Big
Could
deal.
be the
That's
first
a big deal.
one.
Yep.
And then you got this Alabama-Georgia game. So I do not think Notre Dame is going to get in any way, shape, or form. I look at Notre Dame this year being the Texas A&M of last year, finishing one spot out. But, by the way, I'm a man in 40. Looked like he cut the mullet down a little bit, Mike Gundy. You saw that?
That guy's nuts. That guy is absolutely crazy. That was a great game, of course. You had the Iron Bowl. Alabama goes to overtime with Auburn. Auburn had the game won, dominated most of the game, and then Alabama just makes a couple plays at the end. Gets in the end zone. Do you like the new overtime rules, Bob, man, where you got to go for 2 after the second overtime? It kind of cuts down on the overtime periods, and that rule was made because of that crazy LSU Texas A&M game.
And I think that was the longest it's been in overtime since they implemented the new system. Of course, when you get to overtime number 3, you don't have a start at the 25. You go right from the 2-point plays from the 3-yard line. And, of course, both of them did get that, and then Alabama won it. But, hey, we appreciate all of our great viewers throughout the year for being with us, and we'll continue 2 weeks away. It could be a great day in Tiger Town if all the I's get dotted and the T's get crossed.
Oh, well, there's a whole lot to do between now and then for this new coaching staff. Of course, you got to solidify the spots on the staff, and then you got to talk to the recruits and get those names on that dotted line, bud, man. December 15th is going to be here before you know it. Then it's Christmas, and it's big-time bowl season. High school football is finishing up, so a lot of those guys are ready to move forward with their lives as their season comes to an end. I want to wish all of Louisiana high school football players out there good luck this weekend. High school championships start this weekend. Going to be a big weekend, LSU or LHSAA football, I should say. A whole lot more to talk about between now and then. Certainly appreciate you turning in to Tigers Roar. Catch us next week right here, 8 o'clock on the Pelican. Also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Pelican Broadcasting. For the Bud Man, I'm JP. You've been watching Tigers Roar.